So I thought I'd share with you a chart that is relevant to a transit that is currently operating. Um, and this relates to the transit of Mars. So here I have the chart of Gaddafi, and there are different times given for his time of birth, so different ascendants are used by different astrologers. I'm using here the ascendant of Libra, Libra rising. So in any rate, whether or not that is the correct descendant, we're going to look at the planet Mars and relate that to his chart and to see if you can relate that to your own chart and your own experience at this present time, as it's very much active presently. So whether this is for Gaddafi, for the world in general, or just looking at your own chart and seeing how you're personally experiencing this transit. Mars moved into the sign here of Cancer as it's placed in Gaddafi's chart from birth a couple of days ago, so it'll be there until the end of October, the 31st of October. So Mars in the sign of Cancer is its place of debilitation. So it's at its weakest in the sign of Cancer. And when Mars is weak, it can either be expressed in one of two ways. It can, number one, be expressed as simply that, a weakness. And a weak Mars is a lack of will and drive and ambition, a timidity. Mars represents the third chakra, so it's the fire in your belly and your willingness to go the lengths to achieve something for yourself. So when it's weak, there can be a lack of this and always giving in to other people's desires, other people's wishes. Now, number two, the opposite can also be true, and a very strong Mars can come across, though that it's coming from a place of weakness. So there's an overcompensation. And when Mars is too strong and too forceful, then the opposite is true and aggression is relevant and is expressed. And we can see this in Gaddafi's life clearly. In his chart, he has Mars debilitated in Cancer, and so his Mars has been expressed as an aggressive nature, and he is a dictator. So this is coming from a place of weakness, though, and this must be understood. And any planet can express that. So if a planet is weakly placed, there's again an overcompensation for that energy, and it can go the other extreme. In this case, Mars represents energy, represents your drive, your will, your ambition. And so that needs to be looked at in balance in terms of a healthy expression of that. Now, Mars has just moved in here into the sign of Cancer. And so you can look at that from your own perspective. From this chart, we look at it from, for example, the ascendant, and using this ascendant Libra. It's, if you count from this sign, it's 10 signs away. And the 10th house represents the area of career. So for Gaddafi, his career, his status, his reputation is being affected by this weak Mars. It's very relevant for him at the moment also in this long period in terms of his period of life at the moment is Mars itself. So his Mars period began in 2007 and it runs until 2014. So it's a very important time for him to experience this energy of Mars, and he has experienced it as a frustration and a lot of aggression coming from him. And again, remember to look at the area. So in his case, it is in the area of his career, his status. It can also be looked at from your moon. So you could look at Mars in Cancer from the moon, and in his chart, we see that Mars is in the fifth house from his moon. So the fifth house in someone's chart is either children or followers. So we can see how his followers have experienced the brunt of this Mars energy, this aggressive energy. Again, you can relate this to your own chart as a transit currently. You can relate it to where Mars is in your birth chart also, but just looking at where Mars is at the moment in Cancer and relaying that to your own chart. Remember to either count from your ascendant to Mars in Cancer. So for example, if your ascendant is this sign, Sagittarius, you count 8 houses away, and the 8th house then will be relevant for this Mars. If it's the sign of Aries, then you would count 4 to Mars. If you're looking from your moon, then you can just simply again count from your moon inclusively. So this will be number 1, number 2, 3, 4, and 5. So in Gaddafi's chart, we see how Mars is in his 5th house from birth and currently. So count from your moon and see what is expressed, or the area that this is being expressed in. So this is relevant for the next few weeks until the end of October, this Mars in weakness. And we can see that on a global level, and Cancer being the water sign, Mars coming in there and creating a lot of heat and stirring things up, so there can be a lot of water disasters. And but we have to look at this in terms of our own personal charts also, and to see how we're experiencing them. So you can look at your own chart using this, and I hope it helps.